Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to have Ian Chamandy as my guest, and let me tell you a little bit about Ian. Over the last 20 years, he has helped more than 400 organizations define their purpose and become consistently, uniquely remarkable through his proprietary blueprint process. Blueprinting defines an organization's purpose in 7 words or less and uses it to define how it will operate and communicate. Ian has adapted this process for individuals so they can create personal blueprint for happy, productive, self-directed, and purpose-driven lives. He also is an author, speaker, and coach, as well as a contributor to a nationally broadcast TV station. He co-wrote the book, Why Should I Choose You? Answering the most important business questions in 7 words or less. And today we are going to spend some time chatting just about that, how to define your purpose in 7 words or less. Please join me in welcoming Ian Chamandy. Ian, I am excited to listen to what you have to say today.
Thank you very much, Vicki. And I'll just let you know that although it's 7 words or less, and that sounds like, very little real estate, usually it's 2 or 3 or 4 words.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And being a past project manager, it always seems like a miracle that you can get any leaders to give you anything less than 2 paragraphs. But I have faith in you.
Well, it just takes 2 things. It takes, knowing what to do, but also having the patience.
Oh, yeah, that word.
Having the patience to wait until you get to the right spot, rather than, digging down to level 2 and having something that's sort of superficial and lasts for a couple of months. You got to dig down to level 10 and get the thing there that is enduring, that's sustainable over your lifetime.
Well, we're going to dig more deeply into that as well. First, I do have an easy question for you, and that is just to tell everyone, where do you live?
Oh, I live in Toronto, in Canada.
Oh, very nice. I love Toronto. So just take a few minutes. I always like to just have a little bit of a idea of what your journey has been, the paths you have taken that have led you to where you are today, because often we didn't start out doing what we're doing today.
Right. Yeah.
25 or 30 or 40 or for my case, 45, 60 years ago. So talk to us about this journey that you have that really has enlightened you to be doing what you're doing today.
Sure. Okay. So there's the starting point and then there's today. And I won't give you a whole lot of detail about in between, just some relevant stuff. But the starting point was when I was an entry-level copywriter at an advertising agency. No training, no nothing. And I'm sitting there at my typewriter, and I'm typing drivel. And it's really frustrating me because I know it's crap what I'm seeing on the paper. And I don't know how to make it true and authentic to the brand or the product or service. And so, but I was committed to that. So I just typed out in big letters, is that true? And I taped it onto the wall above my typewriter. as my guide.
Yeah.
I don't know that it helped, but it was the beginning of my journey for authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the real it, if it's a product or service or company, and who is the real you, if it's about an individual?
Yeah.
So about 20 years ago, I started a company called Blueprint. And it was to define the authentic company. Who is this company really at its essence, at its root? What's that one thing that makes the company uniquely remarkable? And then define it in 7 words or less. So it's a nice, concise statement. And then what that becomes, because it defines what I think is the single most important asset for a company, knowing what makes you uniquely remarkable, being able to articulate your superpower. I think that's your single most important strategic asset, because it allows you to do 2 things. It allows you to then design how you're going to manage the company and how you're going to communicate the company to the outside world. But because those designs are based on what makes you uniquely remarkable, you have your superpower built into those two functions, running the company and communicating the company to the outside world. And then COVID hit, and I knew that we were not going to get a lot of business through COVID. People were battening down the hatches. And so I decided to get my coaching certification. And once I got it, I hung out my shingle. Excuse me. But I knew I was a generic coach, and I hate the notion of generic. I hate being a generic anything. So I went out and I said, I'm very curious about how the market is going to speak to me about what it wants from me. And the market spoke loud and clear. Every prospect who came to me said the same thing. COVID has made me rethink my life. I don't like what I'm doing. I want to live a life of meaning and purpose. And I said, great. What's your purpose? And they'd say, I don't know. And so I realized, though, that I could take this sort of behemoth that I had created for CEOs, to define the purpose of the company and lead into the future. I could take that, strip out the stuff that didn't pertain to an individual, add some stuff that did pertain to an individual, and now I have, rather than a corporate blueprint, I have a personal blueprint. And so that was the first step that I took with my coaching clients, was to define their purpose so we knew who they are, and then to coach through that filter. So next step is I had a 4-time client for my corporate business. Every time he moved to a new CEO role, the first thing he did was a blueprint.
Hey.
Yeah. Love clients like that. And he came to me and he said, I have an online teaching infrastructure built that I can just plunk on top of your personal blueprint, and we can offer that online as a course. And I said, awesome. Because I had never figured out how to take this idea to the masses before. And I know nothing about creating an offline course, let alone an online course. But fortunately, his partner knows all that stuff inside out. So basically, I've been her slave for the last 2 years. And, I sort of blurt out content and she makes it make sense. And so we've designed a course that will allow you to go online and define, find your purpose in 7 words or less. And then you can create your story around that so that you can communicate it to the outside world for a job, when you're looking for a new career or something like that. And then you can design a life of meaning and purpose in 10 different areas of your life. And we walk you step by step through that process in a whole bunch of videos and a workbook, and it's a whole curriculum that we've created. And it's very exciting for me because when you can define that one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable, it is emotionally transformational. I promise you.
Yeah.
I got asked once when, God, this is going to be one of those interviews where you ask one question and I ramble on forever. But I was pitching a golf club, one of the most exclusive golf clubs in the Toronto region, and the whole board was like McKinsey and Deloitte and KPMG and stuff, and I'm pitching them, and the chair says to me, "What is it that intrigues you about potentially getting us as a client? Is it because if you do a good job with us, you can go around and you can pitch other clubs?" And I just looked at him and I said, "No, it's how we change all of you. It's how fundamentally differently you think about your business when you know what business you're really in." And it's the same for an individual. You've been wandering through your life. You've got a whole bunch of friends who know there's something magic about you. And you use that magic every day, but not by design, because you don't know what it is. It's in there. It's doing its job. And all you got to do is like fish down deep enough, figure out what it is, and then you can use it. You can use your purpose by design to design a life of meaning and joy, but also to guide every decision you make and every action you take as you live your life. But those should all be driven by your purpose, by the one thing that makes you uniquely remarkable. So you have that power when you know what it is, that when you know what your purpose is in 7 words or less, you have this power that you didn't have before.
Then you send them to me to practice delivering that purpose.
Absolutely. But and the beauty of it is, like, okay, so my purpose statement is transforming confusion into clarity. Right? I just have this ability and this patience to take a really complex issue and deconstruct it into simpler and simpler and simpler until the answer just pops out. It's self-evident and simple. And then you work your way back up to the top and you solve the problem.
Yeah.
So I know that transforming confusion into clarity is my superpower. And that makes me feel like it gives me confidence.
Yeah.
It allows me to make decisions that are aligned with my beliefs, my wants, and my talents. Those are the things that comprise who I am, right?
Yeah, right.
So know your purpose, and you will constantly make decisions that are aligned with your beliefs, wants, and talents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sorry. What I was going to say is, and then when you get that, like, right, if it was me and I was handing you my blueprint, you'd say, "Oh, transforming in confusion into clarity. I know what to do here. I have clear direction." Because Ian, you've given me clear direction about who you are and what makes you uniquely remarkable. So it makes your job way easier.
Yeah. So our theme is defining it in 7 words or less. And we really kind of talked about how you define it. But think about the clients and individuals you've worked with over time. What are some of the biggest hang-ups they have in getting that? And I understand you as a project manager, I used what else and what ifs quite a lot. But what are some of the biggest hangups and challenges that you hear all the time that maybe somebody that's listening to this says, "Oh my God, that's me"?
Well, sorry, challenges for what?
For being able to understand what their purpose is, as you defined it.
Oh, well, you know what? That's interesting because we have a quiz that you can take to figure that out, right? So you answer a bunch of questions. It takes about 2 minutes. You answer a whole bunch of questions, and then there's either 5 or 6 categories of blockages, right? I'm not worthy. I can't remember what they all are. Oh, what? I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
right? So there are all, I wish I could remember them off the top of my head. But they are all, they're all things that make you feel like purpose is not for you.
Mm.
And the reality is, however old you are, you've been living according to your purpose for all those years. You just don't know it, right?
Yeah.
When you think about, so for instance, you, Vicki, when you think about yourself as a 10-year-old and you think about yourself now, is there
It's
a whole lot of difference?
it's
Sure,
interesting.
you're smarter.
It's interesting, when I was 10, my best friend and I used to play school all the time. And I envisioned myself as being a teacher. And
Mm.
then I wasn't able to go to college, and I went into business. And in business, I kept on ending up in roles that had me teaching and facilitating. And and so now I teach and facilitate for a living. It seems like my purpose all along has always
all
been.
along, all along. So the thing is, my point is, if it's there and it's benefiting you to this degree, have it benefit you to this degree
Yeah.
by exposing it,
Mhm.
articulate it,
Right.
and take the care to articulate it in 7 words or less. Because if I give you 3 paragraphs, it's just going to be all mushy and wishy-washy and stuff. Like when you have to do the rigor of getting it down to 7 words or less. Can I give you an example?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because this may be the sort of example of, oh, that's me, right? That
Yeah,
you were.
yeah. Hmm.
So this woman was, I was having breakfast with her one day, and she said, I'm bored. She's the CEO of a company. She'd been running it for five years. It was a pigsty when she joined.
Mm.
And 5 years later, it's running itself, and she's bored. And she said, and I said, so what are you going to do next? And she said, well, I don't know, because I don't know what I can do. This woman, okay, she graduated with an MBA at
Mm.
20. She had run other companies. This was not her first CEO rodeo. Her parents were overachievers. Her mother ran a global company. This woman was highly accomplished. She could do anything.
Hmm.
And yet she's sitting here saying, I don't know what I can do. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, I've had my head down for 5 years, you know, putting out this tire fire,
Hmm.
had my blinkers on, totally focused. And now that it's running itself, I look up and it's like the world has passed me by,
Hmm.
right? I don't know if I'm relevant to the modern world. I don't know if people out there are going to see me as having valuable skills, because I feel like I've been out of the workforce in a way for
Yeah.
5 years. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
Like
it
you
is.
hear it and you go, ah, that's ridiculous. But that's how she felt.
Yeah.
So she decided to do a personal blueprint. And so, I just make her talk and talk and talk. And what became very evident was that this woman was not a manager. Do
Mm.
not give her a company that is functioning well and ask her to keep it functioning well. She'll fall asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
She needs that tire fire,
Hmm.
because it's like she doesn't even get engaged. She doesn't wake up
Yeah.
until, they're months away from crashing and burning. And then she springs into action. And it brought up an image of like a military leader
Hmm.
standing at the edge of a minefield with, she's a new military leader. She's got all of her battle hardened soldiers behind her, who've had the crap kicked out of them, and now they're facing a minefield.
Yeah.
And so that was the image it conjured, and the expression that came up was leading safely through the minefield.
Mm.
Right? That
Yeah.
became her purpose statement. That became what she's all about. She's got two qualities that allow her to do that. When everybody else's hair is on fire, she's just walking cool, calm, collected. That's number one. And number two, she quickly figures out what needs to be done, turns to her people and says, follow me. I'll get you safely to the other side. And they go, oh, thank God. Thank God someone's here to help us. Right? And she does that again until, the company's running itself and she gets bored and she moves on. But leading safely through the minefield became her purpose statement, the description of what made her uniquely remarkable. And it pertains not just to her professional life, but her personal life as well. She makes decisions about what she's going to do, how she's going to engage out of work based on the idea of leading safely through the minefield. If it's something that's kind of working just fine, then why do they need her?
Yeah. Sounds like my cousin's husband. He's a marketing guru or genius, but he always goes into companies that are struggling and he gets them out and then he moves on.
He needs that challenge or he's bored.
Yeah, right. So how do you know if the purpose you have is going to make your life better? Like I never, until I was retired, thought to do what I'm doing now, but it's always what brought me joy. But how do you know? How do you there has to be, when you talk about patience, I just think of in all the years I worked for CEOs and head folks, that their patience really wasn't one of their words.
Yeah.
So
well,
talk
you
to
know
us
what?
about that.
Yeah. So the thing is, I have a lot of case studies, right? So a CEO will typically want the result.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll tell you with this woman, right? The CEO. There is a fact, right? There is something inside you, whether you're a person or a company, it's keeping you on essentially the same path. So it's in there. It's a fact. What are we trying to do? We're trying to put words to that fact. We're not trying to invent the fact. We're just trying to put words to it. And what happens is that when we hit the right thing, fireworks start going off in your limbic system, the place where you process feelings and emotions. And you just feel it. You go, like when I said leading safely through the minefield, she said, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Right? It's that visceral response. So, if you live in a world where, I need hard evidence and I need quality, I need quantifiable proof of this, that, and the other thing, you're not going to get it. We're humans, right? Yeah. So when she heard leading safely through the minefield, she processed it intellectually as well, right? Leading safely through the minefield, is that actually what I do? Yes, it is. But she also processed it emotionally, and that was the primary driver. And that's, by the way, that's where you make decisions in your limbic system. Not in your cerebral cortex. And when you hear that little man or little woman, that little voice in your head weighing the pros and cons of something, and you think that you're thinking rationally and coming to a decision. No. Decision's already made in the limbic system, and your cerebral cortex is just trying to catch up and figure out what decision it made and why it made that decision so it can communicate it to the outside world. So what happens is, when we get the right words, it grabs your cerebral cortex and you go, oh, yeah, that's me. So I've had that same experience, over 400 times with companies as well. It's the same thing. You have an executive team here and it's always in conversation. I don't go away and, the egghead comes back with something. I know how to facilitate a conversation. Right. To pull out of you what you already know. And But it's the same thing with companies. When we get the right words, they just go, oh my God, yes, that's what we are. So that's this is really important, actually. I forgot about this. That's one of the things about a purpose statement. It has to resonate on a deep emotional level. Number one, with you. But number two, it's going to resonate with people around you as well, because you have a secret sauce, a superpower, a talent that's useful to other people. They may not know how useful it is yet because you haven't articulated it to them. But once you can, then, like, everybody who knows me knows I'm about transforming confusion into clarity. So, if they're in a tough spot, who do they come and talk to about business or personal stuff or whatever? That's why I became a coach, because people would talk to me.
Right.
And I would transform their confusion into clarity. And they'd say, oh, you should be a shrink. You should be a therapist. And I didn't want to go back to school for that. So I just, invented something myself.
So cool. Well, time is flying by, and I have probably a whole lot of questions more I could ask. But before we go, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about, after we take this little quiz that determines, what our purpose might be, talk a little bit about your course, and maybe the group work that might help further that.
Right. So the course will launch late April, early May, sometime around there. We were all scheduled to launch in March, and then the ability to integrate AI right into the course,
awesome.
To have it fully integrated in the course. So the AI acts as a thinking helper for you right in the course. And the ability to do that all of a sudden became available to us. We said, oh, hold the presses. Let's build this in and wait 2 months and launch a little bit later. So we're going to launch sort of mid-spring. And excuse me, I'm sorry about that. So what it does is there's 4 modules to it.
Perfect.
And it starts out with a little bit of housekeeping and then with a little bit of theory, right? You got to know what you're doing. And then we take you through a process. We get you to identify 2 accomplishments that you're proud of, preferably one in work and one in business. Now, if you're proud of those accomplishments, and presumably because they accomplished something, then it means your purpose was raging while you were working on that. You were probably in that flow state, oh, this is really cool. And then it turns out wonderfully, and it does what it was supposed to do, and now you're proud, right? So we take 2 of those accomplishments, and step by step, I lead you through how to tear them apart to discover what your beliefs, desires, your beliefs, wants, and talents are. Right? Because what you believe, what you want, and what you have the ability to do, those are sort of the 3 components of who you are. Once we have those, then I show you how to chuck them into AI and find the right words.
Yeah.
Use AI as your thinking assistant to, try it in a happier tone. Try it in a more business-like tone. Try it in a more neutral tone. Try it longer. Try it shorter. Take these 10 paragraphs and convert them to 7 words or less. All this stuff.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
So at some point in module 4, where you're actually working in AI to put, your purpose will pop out, and then we just put it through a bulletproofing process, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. The good thing is that this podcast is probably going to launch in May.
So super.
So it's perfect timing. Everybody is going to be able to run and go and do that.
Awesome.
At the time this rolls out. So this is perfect. All right. For those of you that are listening and are all excited about this and wanting to sign up to get that blueprint and to think about that course, I'm going to share my screen. As always, you should have got a paper and pencil from the very start to take notes. But if you didn't, run and do that right now so you can write down the website. And as you know, everything will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. Please subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. The website is purpose.co, purpose.
Oh, gosh, Vicki, I didn't
Purpose
spot
you. It's
Purpose You. Purpose
purposeu.co.
You, yes.
Let's just fix that right away. There you go.
That wasn't
Purpose
very
you.
good proofing on my part.
No worries. And it is there the second time for us to send the audience to for your call to action. But I'm going to turn it over. Just tell them a little bit about Purpose U's Blueprint for Purpose course, as well as the ability to just do that real quick signing up. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted me.
Just give them a little bit more information of what they'll find on your website, as well
Got it.
as.
Okay. So what you'll find is basically a landing page at this point.
Perfect.
And it's going to say, course will launch in the near future. To be the first to know, leave us your email, and we will notify you when the course is launching. But in the meantime, we'll probably be dripping some stuff about purpose out to you as well, to get you, prepared for that and excited about that journey.
Do you anticipate having a community or the ability of the folks that go into the course to be able to chat with one another? I don't know, WhatsApp or any of that kind of stuff, social media.
It's so interesting, Vicki, because I mean, there's a bunch of questions that you asked that we didn't pre-brief on, and they are bang on. So yes, that's one of them. So what's going to happen after you define your 7 words or less? While you're in the course, there will be a community so that you can get community help.
Awesome.
There will also be master classes that I will do. So I'll do them live. I'll take questions, that sort of thing. But you can rebroadcast it to yourself at any time. And then what you can do after you finish the course is you can join the ongoing community. It's not going to be an onerous fee, but what it gives you access to is 2 things: the ability to step by step, just like we did in Define Your Purpose in 7 words or less. It's build out your purpose story, and that's a fairly substantial job. And then the other thing it allows you to do is we've identified 10 different areas of your life, and I walk you step by step through defining that area of your life, like career or finance or family or relationships, defining that specific area, how you're going to live a life of meaning and purpose in that specific area. So that's what by joining the community afterwards, you get to fill out your story, and you get to do all of that defining, and you get to do it in concert with other people who are going to be able to help you.
But as I said, and once you get all that, then send them to me so we can practice delivering it in a way that is engaging online and in person.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's been just wonderful chatting with you. You brought a breath of freshness to the whole idea of finding your purpose and defining it. It's just, I think, an area where we either avoid or we get stuck. And so it's wonderful that you're doing this service for us.
But anybody who wanted to define their purpose, how the heck do you do that?
Yeah.
Like there's just not a whole lot out there.
No, there's not. No, there's not. And it's so important. And, there's a lot of us baby boomers that are, retired now and didn't want to just sit and watch Netflix. I'm so sorry. For those of you that love that, like my husband, no offense to you, but there's a lot of us that still are now finding our purpose, living our purpose. Maybe we always knew what it was, but now we have the opportunity to start to live our purpose and, leave that legacy that we want to leave for our children and our children's children.
So we call that a trigger event. So for you and your husband, retirement is a trigger event. And it's triggering your need for purpose and your yearning for purpose. But I was standing in a grocery line, 2 women behind me, 2 mothers behind me, and they're chatting about the crisis of graduation. The crisis of graduation. Oh no, my children are coming home and they're unemployed and they think they're smart. So the crisis of graduation is a trigger point, right? Because what a trigger point does is it creates uncertainty about the future. Yeah. And that uncertainty causes anxiety and even fear. And what do you do to alleviate that? You engage your purpose. Yeah. Purpose will tell you what to do and what to do and how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, I just want to remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. Thank you so much, Ian, for being a great guest. And
my pleasure, Vicki. Thank you for having me.
This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.